Thanks for tuning in to Veterans Voices. I'm your host, Joshua Zebley, and my co-host is Buck Carmichael. Today we're going to tell you how to get the most out of your veteran education benefits. Joining us from UC Santa Cruz, Veteran Resource Center Program Coordinator, Jerry. Jerry, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me here today.
Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about your military service and your current role at UC Santa Cruz?
Sure. So I joined the Marine Corps back in 2009 out of the Sacramento Elk Grove recruiting station. I joined in under an open contract. I just wanted to be part of something bigger than myself and ended up becoming a machine gunner. I was with 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Division, Golf Company Weapons Platoon as a machine gunner. Deployed to Afghanistan during my first tour. Did no machine gun work. I was actually a minesweeper at the time. So I had the mine detector and the holly stick leading the patrol for a bit, and then came back home 2010. During my time in Afghanistan, they were asking for volunteers to come back, and I raised my hand again since I was already there. Why not? And I thought, like, if I did this, I probably didn't have to do another train up. Lied to myself, and I ended up crossing deck over to 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine Division, Golf Company again, Weapons Platoon, and we trained up to go back to Afghanistan. That time around, I went in as a gunner. I was part of the crew off team. So I'm trying to remember what we called us, but essentially trucks. Essentially, we had the new MAC-Vs, which was pretty cool. Did my tour with them, and then came back home 2012. That was my experience with the Marine Corps.
Well, thank you for your service, Jerry.
I appreciate it.
And currently, you are a program coordinator at UC Santa Cruz, correct? Can you tell us
That's
about
correct.
that?
Yeah, so I'm currently the program coordinator at UC Santa Cruz for the Veterans Resource Center. My goal is essentially to support all military connected students, so that's your dependents, your spouses, ROTC, active duty, reservists, veterans, obviously. And I assist them with understanding their benefits, showing them how it works, showing them the resources that we have in the county as well to support them while they're there and to help with that transition, getting them connected with the county veteran service officers, not only within Santa Cruz, but where they're from, right? So sometimes their families could be in the Contra Costa County or down in San Diego. My goal is to get them connected with the representatives down there so that they can continue to get the resources that they have now, for example, like the Cabilatazan fee waiver. Yeah.
Well, good. Thank you for joining us, Jerry. We look forward to learning from you and the experiences you have, both as the program coordinator and as a veteran.
And I'm curious, Jerry, when you got out in 2013, what was your first experience with VA education benefits?
Knew nothing. I knew nothing. There was the TAPS program. It was the program in which we went through when we were transitioning out of the Marine Corps. And they said we had these benefits. So I'm like, good, solid. So once I get to the school, they should know exactly what needs to be done. That wasn't the case. Educational systems know of its existence. They have certain representatives there that know how to process it. But for applying for the benefit, that wasn't really spoken about. So when I started back in Southern California, when I got out at Saddleback Community College, I believe the representative there was Colin Williams. He runs the vets program down there. He had a Boots to Books program. It was like a general educational class talking about benefits and trying to help teach us and understand more about financial aid and about other resources that the county has to offer. And so with that class, I was able to apply and activate my post 9/11 benefits because I needed that money, the housing allowance to help pay for my way outside of the military now. And through that class, I learned a lot. Like, you could utilize what at the time was called the Board of Governors fee waiver. I believe it's
Now it's called the California Promise.
Yeah.
California Promise is what it's called now, which covers your tuition and fees at the community college level. And then I learned that since I was out of the military, I could also apply for unemployment. And those are two resources that I used to help conserve my benefits, right? Because I wasn't really thinking about how long I was going to be in college for, till I realized during that first quarter, I was like, it looks like I need to start all over. going through the basic language classes, math classes,
Sure.
really trying trying to reestablish my foundations, essentially. And through that program, I was able to utilize those resources instead of exhausting my benefits until I got to that 4-year level, which for me was San Francisco State University.
So can you explain just, I think the post 9/11, which call it, is the GI Bill, right?
Correct.
So you can explain what the GI Bill is. That's what the majority of veterans are using, right? Post 9/11 GI Bill.
Correct, yes. So right now, during my time when I was going through the educational system, it was considered as a post 9/11 GI Bill benefit. I believe they transitioned into a new name, same benefit as the Forever GI Bill. And what it does for the veterans is that it covers their tuition and fees completely. So whatever the costs for whatever educational system they apply to, everything is covered, from their tuition, state fees, campus fees, any other additional fees that any other student would have to pay for. Those benefits cover it. Now there is a cap, but most institutions don't meet that annual cap. Unless you're at a private institution, then it's a little different. And then in addition to that, while they're at school for full time, they receive their housing allowance. Some veterans may know it as the BEH, Basic Allowance for Housing, or MHA, Military Housing Allowance, but it provides them a housing allowance based on the zip code in which they're attending classes in. Usually tied to a nearby base is how they justify how much they would receive.
And that's I think it's E5 pay for that base.
Yes,
So it's really
correct.
intended to, so you can, be in school and not have to worry about working full time, right?
Correct, yeah.
It's a great benefit, and I'm glad you mentioned the Forever GI Bill, because the changes, right? If you got out after 2013, that means your GI Bill does not have an expiration date.
That's correct,
But
yeah.
prior to that, 15-year expiration rate.
Yeah.
So we're doing the math quickly in our head here and thinking, if you got out in 2012, you have until 2027 to get on it and use your non-Forever GI Bill.
Correct.
You got to do it quick. Go ahead,
Which
Mark.
is tough. It can be tough because there is that transitional period that we like to, explain to our veterans, like their idea of graduating within this 36-month time frame, and then also trying to talk about there is that transition where you got to get connected with the resources in your county, you got to get connected with the VA. Oh God, I'm forgetting what it's called. The VA medical side of things. Yeah.
Enrollment. For
Yeah,
sure.
VA enrollment, exactly, for medical support. And that takes time. And then while they're going through school and trying to obtain their benefits and learn all these new things in their classes, and then trying to also be an active member in society, it all takes time for that transitional period. So I try to break the mold of the 36-month time frame of graduation, and by utilizing all the resources that we have in California when it comes to tuition assistance and unemployment, for example, I try to get them more space before they are able to start activating their benefits.
And I think, in the position that I'm in, I run into a lot of students that do have to remediate classes because they've spent the last 4 or 8 years in the military. So they got to jump back into that college frame. And, what are some of those pro tips that you might have for someone that is looking at more than 36 months of college in their future?
First, I would always say go to your resource centers, talk to them about your end goal, where you want to see yourself, right? Let's say, for example, and we have a bunch of veterans that become doctors. A veteran wants to become a doctor. Okay, that's at least, 4 years in undergraduate, 2 to 4 years into a doctor's program. And so that's more than 36 months of benefits. And so what they can do is they can put a request to receive a certification for less than full-time status, meaning they can take the 12 units for full-time status or more, but they're requesting that they're asking the school certifying official, the person who's responsible for submitting their benefits to the VA, to submit a 3/4 time representation, meaning at 3/4 time, they report to the VA that they're taking 9 units, so that their tuition and fees are still covered completely, and they're getting a reduction in BEH, but what they're doing is they're conserving an additional month every quarter or semester. So hopefully, by the time they get done with their undergraduate, they've had saved up 12 months of entitlement to use at the next educational level.
When you're doing the math again, which I like to do, 36 months of veteran education benefits is 3 years. Usually takes, well, they're called 4-year schools. So it doesn't really add up. So I think if you're not sharing these tips and tricks with veterans, a lot of them are going to be in a position in their senior year of their bachelor's degree, right? Where they're like, I'm out, so now I have to get a loan. I mean, it's so important. I don't know, that's day one you have to tell them that, right? And you mentioned the BOG, which was a couple years ago, but now the California Promise. So at your level, you're not seeing community college students, but really advise them, try not to use your GI Bill your freshman and sophomore year, right? Your first 2 years?
No, actually, I do a lot of outreach at the community college levels, and I do meet up with some of the veterans over there, and I say, hey, listen to what these resource centers have to tell you, because when you get to that 4-year level, you might be there a little bit longer than you expected. I mean, I'm a prime example. I went to San Francisco State University, attained my degree in biology with a concentration in physiology, and I struggled in chemistry. I struggled in genetics, and I've repeated those classes 2 to 3 times each. And so, understanding how you extend your benefit helps out so much. And saving the benefits, it's gonna help me even further if I choose to go back to school as well. Yeah.
And we have a lot of veterans come in and they apply for this veteran readiness and employment benefit. Is that something that you're familiar with? Is that something that you work with?
Yeah, actually, I work with students who are on that program as well, and I was also alumni of that program. I want to say halfway through my post 9/11 entitlement, I was a bit concerned of where I was going to be. I didn't see myself going down the medical route anymore, and I needed some assistance in finding that next employment idea. And so I heard about the Veteran Readiness Employment Program, the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program. At the time, it was called Voc Rehab, and I was able to speak to one of the counselors and talk about what a future could look like for me. So from my understanding, it was an employment program, and what was interesting about it is that if the employment program required an education, right? If the employment required an education, they would be able to support us in that endeavor, depending on how much education is required, but they'll work with you. And I was actually on that program for 24 months until I graduated, and they were able to help me find my current job now.
So we're gonna take a quick break, but when we'll come back, we'll definitely talk more about VRNE.
When I served, my work was critical. And I don't feel like that's the case anymore.
I lost all of my friends when I got out. Had to start my whole life over.
I didn't know what to do each day. Then my marriage hit a real rough patch.
It got so bad that I was even thinking about suicide. I called the Veterans Crisis Line. I tell my buddies to call in case they ever need it.
When I retired, things slowed way down and lots of bad memories came back. I still go through tough times, but I'm glad I called.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
The person on the other end of the line isn't going to judge. Lots of responders are veterans too.
We all need to take care of ourselves. If you're going through a rough time, call the Veterans Crisis Line.
Welcome back to the Veteran Voices studio. We are talking about maximizing your veteran education benefits. So Jerry, you've told us about veteran readiness and employment. You've told us about the Forever GI Bill. We've talked about maximizing your benefits because we did the math, all three of us, and we can't figure out how you can use 36 months of veteran education benefits and get a 4-year degree. And to me, 4 years is 48 months, right?
Yep.
And you've explained a very good way to do that. Let's talk a little bit now about veteran education benefits for dependents.
Sure. So for dependents, a lot of them come in with so many different types of benefits. There's a CalVet fee waiver, which covers the tuition and state fees. I like to make sure they know that. And then also the Chapter 35 Dependent Educational Assistance benefit as well, which provides a stipend to the student. I believe it's around $1,513 a month for every month that they're in class. And they can receive up to 36 months of that benefit. It might have been extended, but I'd say call the VA just to be sure. And then also some dependents may qualify for post 9/11 as well, where the veteran transfers those benefits to their family members, and it could be for the spouse or the children as well. Those benefits can all be used together if you use it correctly. So what I can say, for example, with some of my students is I have student A who utilizes the CalVet fee waiver, and they're able to just be responsible for paying up, I think it's their campus fees. So every year they're responsible for $22,400.
Say it again?
$2,400 a year.
And every year, so you're getting
Every year.
total tuition for an entire year for $2,000.
Yeah, 2,400 approximately, yeah. And that's not including, the housing and meals, but if we're just talking about the cost of education, it saves them a lot of money. And if they're, utilizing the CalVet fee waiver with Chapter 35 dependent educational assistance benefits, they're saving money at this point. They're getting through the year with money in the bank.
So we realize that California has a great benefit for dependents, the California tuition fee waiver, and we actually have a lot of viewers that watch us from outside of California, and I definitely encourage them to look into what their state may offer for fee waivers, because I know there's other ones for sure. I mean, it's
Texas, Illinois, they have great benefits for them as well.
The fee waiver, I think, is important to mention. We don't have to go too deep into it, but to mention the residency requirements, because you probably have out-of-state dependents that come to UC Santa Cruz, right? So,
yeah.
So what's the
the
residency requirement for the dependent?
So if they're utilizing a federal benefit like Chapter 35, dependent educational assistance, they qualify for a non-residency fee waiver, which means that they're not charged out-of-state fees. And this can work vice versa with students or family members, spouses, and dependents, or veterans coming out of California going to other states. That benefit qualifies them for their other institutions outside of California as well.
And then they have to live in, they didn't have to go to high school in California, they didn't have to,
No.
they just had to be.
They could be a resident of Texas and they're attending UC Santa Cruz, but if they have that chapter benefit, they qualify for the non-residency fee waiver. Yeah.
That's it.
Now with the Chapter 35, kind of comparing it to the post 9/11 GI Bill of the Forever, are they able to kind of certify part-time and preserve some of the credits for a longer than the 36 months there as well, or?
They can, that is correct. They can request 3/4 time, but then it does affect how much of a stipend they receive. Okay. So it would be reduced down to 80%, and they would be able to conserve a month's worth of entitlement or benefits every quarter or semester by doing so. Again, I tell them to use it as the same way if they choose to go into that higher level education as well. So we do have students who graduated out of UC Santa Cruz and they go to Ohio State, for example. Now they're going into Ohio State as a non-resident of Ohio, but with this benefit, they receive the fee waiver, so they're not paying for out-of-state fees.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, granted, they won't. I'm not sure if they have the CalVet fee waiver out there, but
It's definitely not the CalVet, but they might have the OVET.
Yeah.
I don't know what they might call it over
something
there.
out there. But I mean, being able to pay for just in-state tuition helps out significantly, especially with reducing the costs and allowing them to really be more financially aware of what they're responsible for, and it helps them out.
So the fee waiver, you mentioned a lot of veterans, but I don't know about dependents, are getting PhDs or MDs. The fee waiver sometimes covers those programs as long as they're state funded, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And does UC Santa Cruz have programs that are PhD or I know there's master's degrees that are state funded, right?
Definitely master programs that, and this is just not within the UC system, CSU as well. As long as the program is state funded, then they're able to use the CalVet fee waiver. Now, if the program itself is state funded, but it's also in its infancy stages, then it still has time to prove whether or not the program is going to be there for a while. So forgetting what it's called. But yeah, as long as it's state funded.
long as state funded?
As long as it's state funded, the program, the Calvet fee waiver can be applied.
Well, and I'd like to kind of shift focus just a little bit, because a program that we use in our office, and I know you utilize at Santa Cruz, is the work study program, and that's available for not only veterans using the post 9/11, but also the dependents. Can you tell me a little bit about that program?
Sure. So the VA work study program, as long as the individual is utilizing a federal educational benefit, so it can be I'm going to start saying some letters and numbers out here. So chapter 1606 for reservists, 1607 would be for reservists as well, or the 35 program for dependent spouses. Chapter 33 would be the Forever GI Bill, or Chapter 31, the Veteran Readiness and Employment Program. They would qualify for the VA work study program. In a situation where we have students are requesting to be submitted 3/4 time to conserve their benefits, when they apply to this VA work study program, this is how they can supplement the quote unquote loss that they're taking when they're asking to be reduced certification status. And so with that program, depending on the institution that they attend, and let's say they work full-time within the law, obviously, they're able to make up to from $3,000 to $4,000 a quarter. And if they're at a semester institution, they can make anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 a quarter. And it's all considered as a benefit and non-taxable income.
And what are these work studies doing then in your office?
Specifically, it's supporting our military connected students in a way in which they are making sure that our community understands how their benefits are being used, or can be used within the eyes of the VA, essentially. So we promote any program that the VA is offering to all military connected students. We promote classes in how to understand how to use their benefits as well, because assuming that they have it doesn't mean they know it completely. And so we try to have like a 101 course on how to use their benefits. And then they also provide as an assistant to help apply for the benefits as well. So there's a lot that you can do under the VA work study program.
And is that something you're familiar with, like all the colleges have, or?
I can say for a fact, UC system, the UC system has it. A lot of the CSUs have it as well, but it's a challenge. Not every institution has a resource center like ours, and that just comes down to core funding, right? So when they can afford it, they'll definitely have it. That's for sure.
So, I mean, we're lucky enough to utilize the VA work study program as well, and we have had dependents and veterans both in our office, and I think it's a great resource because some of those veterans they're learning about how to use the benefits to their best advantage, and even better, they share it with their veteran resource, with their veteran community, with their friends and things like that. So
honestly, that's been the best way to get our resources out there. It's been word of mouth. Like,
right.
As long as we're able to really support one student, they tend to talk about it amongst their other colleagues, and it's like, hey, if you're using benefits, you should definitely go to the office and talk about how you can maximize it, right? I could talk about information all the time with them during presentation, orientation class, so on and so forth, but it's when you have those one-on-one sessions with the military connected student to let them know, like, hey, you do have these benefits, but we can map it out with you so that you have a start time and an end time of how to use it properly and maximize your time at the institution. And college is hard enough, but to be worrying about your finances at the same time, it's a lot of stress. We try to reduce that. We would want to do our best to support them in understanding how their benefits work so they don't have to worry about the finances as much, so they can focus on the education portion of it. And this goes not just for the dependents, but especially for the veterans, right? Because my goal for them is to help them transition into the college setting, obtain their degree, and then move on past the college setting into employment. And then in between this time, making sure that they get all the resources that they're able to get in the state of California so that when they leave us, they're taken care of. They understand that there is a community and a network behind them at any time ready to serve them.
Thank you, Jerry. Go
I
ahead.
think, yeah, and I think one of the big parts of the work study program that I really appreciate is it allows that student to kind of be exposed to a very professional environment. You know, when they're down in our office or in your office, you know, they're doing a job. They have a, you know, a career-minded focus at that moment. So
It's definitely part of the transitional portion of it as well, and that's why I love the VA work study program, right? I try to hire as many veterans as possible, and it helps with that transitional period of what it's like to communicate within the military, and then we like to say this a lot, what it's like to communicate in the civilian sector as well, right? It's two different worlds, and not everybody understands military jargon. But what's nice, in the VA work study program, we have both veterans and dependents. So there's dependents in there that help catch a veteran. It's like, hey, I know what you're talking about, but this student is probably not going to know what you're talking about. And they have that person to translate a little bit, and they give each other feedback on how they can improve the next time they have one-on-one sessions or if they're giving a presentation.
So we've got a little bit of time left, but I kind of want to recap what we talked about today. California tuition fee waiver, I think, is the one that always, in our office alone, 650, I think, fee waivers we processed. So throughout the state, this is not something that's like, oh, maybe so income-based for the student, you need to live in California for at least a year before, 0% service connection for the veteran, right?
Yeah.
Very easy. VRNE, we can get a little deeper in that, but we don't want to do that right now. Veteran readiness and employment, I think veterans should take a look at that. VA work study, we talked a little bit about the Forever GI Bill. If you got out of the military after 2013, January 1st, 2013, there's no expiration date on your GI Bill anymore, so you have a lot of time, but the most important thing is probably, you know, go into your county veteran service office or go to a local community college. It may be easier to access. They're a little better on parking probably. If you're brand new going into, and then talk to them about what's out there for you. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry. I learned a lot from our conversation, and I hope that you did too. Veterans have a lot of resources available. Use the benefits that you've earned and deserve to get the education that you want. Here are resources if you want to learn more or reach out. For help with accessing any veteran service or benefit, a county veteran service officer is a great place to start. Find one near you at nacvso.org. To find more information about your benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs, go to va.gov and search GI Bill benefits. To rewatch today's episode, check back on our homepage later this week or check your cable provider's schedule for rebroadcast times. You can also rewatch this episode and many others on our YouTube channel, Veterans Voices of Contra Costa, so be sure to subscribe. You can reach us by scanning the QR code or following the link below to find us on all our social media channels. Our next show will air on Wednesday, May 13th at noon. We'll be talking about how to avoid fraud and scams. You won't want to miss it. To all of our veterans and their families, thank you for serving. To all of you who tuned in, thanks for watching and have a great day.